Today, on Energy Contact, our thoughts build our physical structure. But because our thoughts aren't always healthy, some of the ways we build ourselves aren't always healthy either. Or they aren't always pretty, or they aren't always pleasing to us. But now that we know, we're going to find out what we can do about it. And we can do plenty. So prepare to think constructively, because it's coming up right now on Energy Contact. Hello, and welcome to Energy Contact. My name is Joseph Willenbrink. Thank you for joining me today, and thank you to the production staff here in the studio for helping me get my message out to you. Energy Contact is a series that I'm presenting as a public service. It's about attaining perfect health, growth, self-improvement, happiness, and realizing your full potential. It's designed to present you a new way of seeing yourself and a new way of seeing the world around you. We're talking about things that have to do with making an energetic contact with yourself internally and with your environment. There's no difference between the body, the mind, the spirit, the emotion, the intellect, the ego. There's no difference between mass and energy. There's something about us that loves to separate these things out, categorize, pull out a chunk, take it out of the whole, put it under a microscope. But really, all that health and growth and self-improvement we're talking about take place when we do just the opposite, when we put it together. When we make an energetic contact between the physical world and the unseen one. We're presenting on this program a brand new paradigm that's thousands of years old. We're presenting extraordinary topics for ordinary people. And let's move right ahead with that, and let's bring up our first slide. It's important to know that I am not a doctor. I don't want to be one either. This show is in no way a medical advice show. It's not even close. If you're looking for medical advice, please go somewhere else. I might call myself an energy healer or a chakra healer, so might a lot of the people who've come to me. But state, federal, and local governments absolutely do not. It's important to know that. It's important to know all the material on this slide here, so please read it with your full attention. We'll leave it up for a couple more seconds. And when you've got it down, if you would, please locate a pencil and paper. Here's why. At the end of the show, we're going to run credits, and on credits, there's going to be contact information for me. Now, I'm sort of hoping that there might be something that I'll say that intrigues you enough where you might want to make a comment, have a question, and I'll be delighted to hear from you. But in order to contact me, you're going to need that contact information. In order to get that, you're going to need a pencil and paper. There'll be plenty of time to jot it down at the end of the show, if you've got your pencil and paper handy. All right, has everybody got that? Today's show is show number 4, the 4th show in our series. And if you're tuning in for the first time today, thank you. Thanks and welcome. These shows are sequential. They build. There's some ramp-up time. As we progress through the series further, they'll build even more. But if you missed the first 3 shows, it's okay, because I'm doing my very best to do the review necessary and to make each show have good value to you on a standalone basis. Today we're going to review the first 3 shows, in just a second as a matter of fact. But if what you see today piques your interest, then I invite and encourage you to look for the earlier shows. They'll either be re-airing here on this channel, or they'll be airing in the different cable neighborhoods where your friends might live. I'll appreciate it if you look for them. And now we've come to the part of our show where I introduce my co-host, the brains of this outfit. Let's get Slim on camera. Slim is here for a reason. Since we're talking about energy and contact, well, we have to know a few things. We have to know something about energy on this program. And this show is certainly a program about energy. But all that energy out there somewhere is an abstract concept. It really does us no good whatsoever. It does us no good until we understand that thing that the energy contacts. That's what Slim is here to help us with. Remember, a body without energy is just a corpse. You can go to the funeral parlor and see them all day long. And energy without a body, it might be a number of cool things, but none of them are human. All right, so let's review. Let's go ahead and review our first 3 shows. I'm going to give you the Cliff Notes version, what we've discussed in just a nutshell here. We saw on the first programs that the reason we look the way we look, act the way we act, think the way we think, and feel the way we feel is because we built ourselves meticulously, precisely, atom by atom, and very deliberately, just unconsciously. We've been building ourselves, we're still doing it now, and we started in our first days in the womb, our first days after conception. The fact that we built ourselves sounds a little bit treacherous at first, but it's good news, because knowing that, all we have to do is solve the puzzle, find the combination, and we can go back and rebuild ourselves. Now we know we have the power to rebuild ourselves, this time the way we want to be. We've taken a good look at atoms, and we've seen that they are 99.9999%, actually a whole lot more than that. Big percent empty space. They're just nothing. They're just big bags of nothing. Yet that's all we're composed of. That's all you and I are made of. So we must be nothing too. That's all there is to us. We saw forces outside of us that pull us down and push us around and tear us apart and compress us in. Gravity, entropy, energy. And so these things are acting on those bags of nothing. They're the bumps and bruises, they're the kiss and hugs of life, and they're acting with us. So what acts back? Well, it's the internal forces, the forces that animate us. Breath, frequency and vibration, pulse and rhythm, constant motion. That's what changes and moves and affects those bags of nothing, affects us. That's all. That's all there is to it. That's all we get. But it's what makes us alive. And it's what makes us different. Different from day to day, and different from each other. Everything alive moves. And you'll note that it's when you're being the most still, maybe alone in your room, that's when you are aware of your constant motions. You're aware of your heartbeat going boom, 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 your breath coming in and out, your intestines even digesting food, all of that stuff. We saw last show that we react to pressure. We saw how we react to pressure and how we've been doing it since those first moments in the womb, if not before. And so we build iteratively, a hard word to say. Life shapes us and we shape life, and on it goes. We evaluate and we take it around the wheel one more time. We spent some time in the womb last show, and we saw that long before we took our first breath, we were acting, proacting, interacting, counteracting with our environment. We're still doing it now, and that brings us up to today. Today, we're going to continue on from there. We're discussing how thought creates form, and about how and why, even though we're made of the exact same things, we're built differently. We're going to see that we're just frozen in condensed energy, just like ice is frozen in condensed steam. And we'll see how that builds us, how that shapes us. These energetic forces, we'll learn more about them. They're invisible things, things that a surgeon can cut you open and look for all day long. He won't find them. Yet they shape attitude, opinion, everything. And then those attitudes and opinions shape our physical body. And then our physical body turns back around and shapes our attitudes and opinions again. And on it goes. We're going to learn more about those outside forces and how they interact with those inside forces to create you and what you're doing to participate. Forming your body by your thoughts and your thoughts by your body. That's what our show is about today. All these things can build us up or they can tear us down. We can fight or cooperate with nature, with gravity. But nature wins. So remember that before you pick your side. What's the point of all this? So what? Well, so what? So we can learn the way we've built ourselves, so that knowing that, we can be empowered to rebuild ourselves. This time to the healthy we that we want to be. All right, much to do. But now it's time to stop, take a deep breath, because now it's time for our visualization. our journey in our mind's eye. Now, and about this time of every show, we stop for a few minutes just to visualize. Us metaphysical types, we like to do that. And for today's virtual field trip, we're going to go to Venice Beach, California, one of my favorite places in the world, my home and my living laboratory. And today, what we're going to do is we're going to walk up and down the crowded Venice Beach sidewalk on a busy day, and we are going to slap people. Yeah, that's right, we're going to walk up to complete strangers, run up in fact, and just smack them hard too. And we're going to watch what they do. Now there's a couple of ground rules to this game. First off, I'm going to do all the slapping, so don't worry about that. Your job is to observe and take notes. And here's the ground rules. First ground rule is that I'm invulnerable. And that's an important one because some of these people are going to be pretty tough and they will react to my slap in pretty physical ways. And the second ground rule is that to everyone I walk up to, it's a complete, absolute surprise, that people aren't watching me and getting aware of what I'm doing. All right, so there we are. You ready? I hand you a pencil and a clipboard and a camera, and off we go. And I run up to my first guy, and I just smack him hard. And he hauls off, and he punches me right in the mouth. Now you know why we had to do that invulnerable part. But you just take the picture, get the clipboard, punches Joseph in mouth. And on we go. So I go up to a second person, run up to her and smack, and she drops down to her knees and she, please don't hurt me, don't hurt me. You snap the picture, falls to knees, cries, don't hurt me. And on we go. We go up to another person who runs away, another person who shouts, police, 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 another person who just stands there with that deer in the headlights look. And on it goes. Each time you take the picture, you make the note, and we move on. Now let's say there's about 20,000 people in Venice this day, and we go up to a bunch of them, a few thousand maybe. Here's what's going to happen. After a while, these reactions will start to repeat themselves. In other words, we're going to slap many more people than there are distinguishable reactions. We might, if we work hard, be able to divide out maybe 20 categories or so of distinct reaction. And so these people will start to be in groups. Now it's an important side note that really if we walk up to 1 million people, there's 1 million different reactions. 1 million different people will react to the same one thing in 1 million different ways. But for our purposes, for what we can see, for what we can put in general categories, it's going to top out long before that, like maybe 20 or so. And so there's this small number of observable categories. And remember, each reaction, you snap the picture, you take the note. Later, we go home to my house and we start to sort out all the pictures. We group them by the reactions. In other words, we got the punchers with the punchers. We got the criers with the criers. We got them all together, and then we start to look at the stack. And now you see the reason we've done this. You're going to notice something that amazes you. People in the same stack have very similar body types. They look like each other. The way they've built their body looks similar. The punchers look like punchers. They don't look at all like the criers, but the criers look like each other. Now there's going to be a lot of differences. Some will be male, some will be female. Some will be dark and light, tall and short, heavy and thin. But you are going to see those stacks are in fact stacks of body types. Different reactions build different bodies, and similar reactions build similar bodies. Or wait, is it maybe that similar bodies build similar reactions? Either way, it's easy to observe. So we're talking here about thoughts incarnate, thoughts put into body. Let's revisit a few of our old friends before we go on with that. Let's bring up a slide. You remember this guy, or these two guys rather. This is a depressed guy and a happy guy. They have built themselves. So did all the people we slapped on Venice Beach. So do you and I. And let's move right to the next slide. So do these angry people right here. So does everyone. So you can see what's going on with us just at a glance. All right, you've got a mental image of those two guys. Let's come back here. You notice that we're building up a cast of characters here. We've got body types. We've seen a happy guy, a depressed guy, an angry guy. We're about to see a rigid guy, a deflated person. We'll see an anxious person. All different body types. Each of them with their own idea set to go with their body. We're interested in the sameness and in the interaction between thought and body. Does the body build the thoughts, or do the thoughts build the body? That's what we're interested in today. And the quick answer is both and neither. But it's the same forces that build one that build the other. We are intuitively used to reading facial expression. We do that, I mean, you can tell if somebody's angry or happy by looking at their faces. But bodies express too. Bodies express even more. It's really inaccurate to call it body expression because when we think of facial expressions, they're more fleeting. You know, someone's shock can turn to joy or something like that very quickly. But body expressions, they fix, they cement in. Now, hold that thought and imagine just for fun, we go back to Venice Beach in a couple of weeks and we do our same exercise again. Well, this time, when you return, I'll start to run up to somebody and you'll be able to look at the body type and you'll be able to predict their action. So you'll know that's a puncher I'm running up to before I get there. Are you psychic? Well, maybe, but you don't have to be. In fact, you do not have to slap people in order to find out a lot about them. Just try going up to people and asking them for directions, asking them what time it is, even giving them a friendly hello. You know, I do that. I speak to strangers that I pass by. And I do it for two reasons. One, because I'm a friendly guy. And two, because I just love to watch people's reactions. Sometimes you'll just smile and wave to a passerby and they'll just give you the kindest, warmest greeting in return. Again, you're just passing by, you're not starting a conversation, but they'll just say something nice. They'll make your day. The kindness of kind people is very healing. They may be surprised, but they'll be gracious. They're doing you a favor. But before you go off saying hello to strangers, prepare yourself. You're going to have skin about that thick because there are other people who do not mind hurting your feelings, who do not mind being rude to you and letting you know just what a so-and-so they think you are. Even just saying hello, you get the weird expressions, the angry expressions, the suspicious expressions. Every now and then I get this one. This is one of my favorite ones. You know, I say, hey, how you doing? Nice day. They just go around the edge of the sidewalk? Huh. Rude people do you a favor too, though, huh? Because they give you a clear message. They give you a clear message that they're bad news, that they're not somebody that you want to waste your time with. And so you're thinking, but wait a minute, Joseph, are you really trying to tell me that some people can see a friendly hello in passing as an aggressive act? Yes, indeed, sure they can. If they're an aggressive person, it's the only tool that they've used to construct their reality. Rude people, they look at the world through their rude eyes, and you know what they see? They see a rude world full of rude people ready to be rude to them. It's all they got. It's all they got to work with. It's how they've constructed themselves. Rude people look rude. Friendly people look friendly. Happy people look happy. Generous people look generous. Cynical people look cynical. It's how we build ourselves. It's in facial expression, but it's in body shape. What's even more interesting than that is that those rude people will accuse you of being rude. Either directly or implicitly, that's sort of their reply to you. Cynical people will think you are a cynic. If you chance upon a thief, he will think you're trying to rob him. Why? He's constructed himself so long, it's the only tool he's got to look at you. You've heard of rose-colored glasses. That thief, he's got thief-colored glasses. He's reduced the number of colors on his palette. And so, these people, they set themselves up. Do you think they do? Do you think they set themselves up? Do you think they set themselves up to be sick or ugly or misshapen or asymmetrical? Yeah, you're darn tootin' they do. And you can see that their twisted bodies are there. They're festering down there underneath their crappy demeanor. If they're still very young, maybe the effects haven't haven't taken hold yet. But they're on their way. They've disabled themselves. Good people set themselves up too. They set themselves up to be happy, to be healthy, to be symmetrical, to have a fun life. How would you give an answer to that? Somebody walks by you and gives you a friendly hello. How would you answer them? Would you be one of the nice folks? Well, that's how you set yourself up. Answer that question. You'll see how you're setting yourself up. And then, go take a look at your body in the mirror. Thoughts are cemented into physical form. We think we learn how to mask that physical form sometimes, hide our feelings. Maybe that's a good thing. You know, if you're having a bad day, you don't want to let people know. But think about it with your friends. You can sort of see through their facades a lot of time, and they can probably see through yours too. We don't do it as well as we think we do. Excuse me. All right, we're going to look at a few more people in a second, but right now we're going to look at some atoms. Let's bring up our last slide of some atoms. Excuse me. You've seen this before. That's an atom on the left, and over on the right is the huge solar system. See how they look alike? That's because they were constructed from the same model, but we're pretty much interested in just that atom today. As a matter of fact, we are all made identically, and our atomic formula is about the same. It's all made from these atoms. And our atomic formula is about the same as that of any other animal. It's about the same for inanimate things too, gasoline, things like that. Let's bring up our next slide. Specifically, we're made of about these three things right here coming up. Carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. Now remember, those things are way off scale. That nucleus there, that red dot, is like a grain of rice in the middle of a 50-yard line of a football stadium. And those little blue dots are much smaller than that, too small to see on that scale. And they're out in the cheap seats of the stands. That shell does not exist. It just shows you the paths that those little blue dots, those little electrons, are traveling on. And we are made over 98% of those three atoms. The rest of that stuff there is empty space. Now let's look at some people. We're going to bring up a new slide, somebody we haven't seen yet. This is a fellow I call Rigid Man. If this guy walked up to you at Venice Beach and said, "Yo, dude, you want to go smoke some pot?" You might just look at him and say, "I've seen tons of pot smokers in my life, and you know what? None of them are built like you. Pot smokers don't build themselves this way. Policemen do, Marines do. And besides, you'll say, I don't smoke pot anyway. I watch Energy Contact. I take better care of myself than that." But you can just look at that body and tell that there's a set of opinions and beliefs that go with it. Can you see them? There, he's wearing them. All right, let's come back up here for a second. That guy is a creature of his own thoughts. And he's also a creature of his own pride. Can you tell that? He's not all bad qualities. He's got some good ones too. He's very dependable. He's thorough. He takes care of his friends. He's very trustworthy, loyal. He's got an exaggerated sense of right and wrong though, huh? An exaggerated sense of duty. Good people do, bad people don't. Black and white, right and wrong. If you know someone that looks like that guy, I've described his personality. If that fellow says, "I'll be there at 5 o'clock, be ready at 4:59. And if you want his opinion on something, you'll find he doesn't have one. He says, "Look, this is the way it is. And if you don't agree with me, you're wrong." All right, that's the form of rigidity. In extreme cases of righteous indignation, of pride. Let's bring up another slide of him. We put a new thing in the middle here. When we're healthy, we should feel our heart pumping. We should feel our lungs expanding and contracting. But Rigid Man sees all that as weakness. He doesn't like that. He wants to be an Iron Man, a hard body. He goes to the gym. There are magazines and products dedicated to making you an Iron Man. Can you believe it? They advertise it and sell it, and people are standing in line waiting to buy it. All right, let's come back up here. So he wants to be an Iron Man, and then one day, he wakes up and he's got hemorrhoids and a heart condition. And he says, "How can this be? I spent so much time. I spent all my life taking care of myself. I was in the gym every day." Did he take care of himself? Well, maybe not. All right, now let's take a second and look at someone very different. Let's bring up our next slide and you'll see Deflated Woman. She is Rigid Man's polar opposite, huh? Rigid Man's chest was pushed out. Hers is collapsed. His belly was sucked in, hers flops out and down. He pumped out and rigidified her lungs, and she fails to inflate her lungs at all. This person is not proud and rigid. She's withdrawn. She's retreated. Her exaggerated senses are those of grief and sacrifice, even martyrdom in extreme cases. If she says, "I'll be there at 5 o'clock," well, be ready about 7. And if you ask her opinion, she'll say, "I don't really know why you want to know that for. I'm probably wrong." Let's go right to the next slide. You'll see them side by side for a second. Why do they look so different? They're made of the same identical few atoms. And what does it have to do with slapping people in Venice? And what does it have to do with these folks building their personalities? And when did it start? Well, let's come back here. You see, they look different because they think and feel differently. And they think and feel differently because they look different. Last show, we saw that this self-building process began in the womb. There we were in a very confined space, and we felt pressure. It was the first pressure we ever knew, and it was the worst pressure we ever knew. We were just a little mass of cells, and we were trying to push out and make room, and Mom's abdomen was pushing in every day, 24/7. And we had to do something about it. So we made the choice, iteratively, all the time. Collapse or push back, or a number of other choices. So when you see our depressed guy, he didn't start making the decision to collapse last week. He started that long ago. He started that in the womb. Now it's a part of him. He doesn't even have the choice anymore. The same for all the people we slapped in Venice, and the rigid man and the deflated woman and the angry people. The difference is unseen internal forces. Every now and then you'll see somebody that's got that stern expression. You know what I'm talking about, very dour. Even if they smile, it's just a dour look. Well, they were a child once. They were a baby. They weren't a stern baby. They were just a baby. Somewhere over a series of decisions over their life, they started making stern decisions until finally it wasn't a choice anymore. Maybe they don't even have their free will anymore. They've limited their palate. Most of us are not nearly so 101 as the characters we've changed today. We rigidify at times and collapse at another. We're much more organic than that. We're more fluid than that. But we are more predictable than we believe. So think about these things. It's important to look at other people, but where it's going to get you where you want to go is when you look at yourself. So go take a picture in the mirror, make some notes, and I'll see you next time. Until then, I wish you peace and positive energy and a healthy life in Energy Contact.
Or just watch them slip right through your hands. Hey.